Tonight, the president returns to the country after his trips to France and the United Kingdom, gives an assurance that the country will overcome the challenges it currently faces. EU Election Observation Mission presents final report on the 2023 general election, says exercise exposed enduring weaknesses in the electoral process and recommends further legal and operational reforms. Ahead of tomorrow's Eid-el celebrations, or Eid-el-Kabir celebrations that is, many citizens say a high cost of food and transportation may dampen the festivity for them, urge government to address challenges. And Russian President Vladimir Putin addresses his country's military, hails them for stopping a civil war following the aborted Wagner Group rebellion.
On business news tonight, federal government announces plan to ensure quick access to single-digit loans for micro, small and medium enterprises as the country marks 2023 World MSME Day.
On sports news tonight, Premier League champions Manchester City signs Croatia midfielder Mateo Kovacic from Chelsea for an initial £25 million.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, we will not negotiate with terrorists or any criminal group, vows Zamfara state government, maintains that it will continue to fight the armed groups until they are eliminated.
The president has returned to the country from London after his official trip to France for the Global Financial Pact Summit and later a visit to London for a private visit. Now, President Bola Tinubu landed at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport aboard the Nigerian Air Force plane this evening and was received by the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, the Acting Inspector General of Police, the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, and other government officials. After a brief ceremony involving the personnel of the Nigerian Army who mounted the Guard of Honor, President Tinubu left the airport amid cheers from a large crowd of supporters who were at the airport to welcome him. Meanwhile, the president has felicitated with Muslims in Nigeria ahead of the Eid-el-Kabir celebration tomorrow. President Tinubu, in a statement, called on Muslim faithful to show mercy and compassion to all fellow humans, especially those who are less privileged. It says the Eid-el-Kabir is a festival of sacrifice, a virtue which every Muslim must imbibe as demonstrated by the Prophet Ibrahim. While acknowledging the challenges the country is currently faced with, the president gave the assurance that they will be overcome. In the words of President Tinubu, quote, "I am working day and night with my team, fleshing out solutions. We have started with the decisions taken so far to reform our economy and remove all impediments to growth." He is encouraging Nigerians to face the future with vigor and renewed hope, with the confidence that the nation's future shall be better and brighter. And talking about the reforms being undertaken by the Bola Tinubu administration, the World Bank has thrown its weight behind the fuel subsidy removal and the exchange rate unification. According to the country director of the World Bank, Dr. Subham Chaudhry, the policy, though painful, remains key to rebuilding the nation's economy. He was speaking at an event organized by the World Bank to assess the nation's economy in the last 6 months.
Effort on the part of the central bank.
It's that time again when representatives of development finance institutions, government officials and economists converge to assess the nation's economy. The event, tagged the Nigeria's Development Update, throws a searchlight on the economy and policy recommendations for job creation, poverty reduction and economic growth over a 6-month period. This time, the World Bank's attention is specifically on the petroleum subsidy removal and the exchange rate unification.
In the last month, what we've seen are really, from our perspective, the beginnings of that move through these bold decisions that have been taken. I know they've been controversial, but the way I would put it, I like to use metaphors. It's a bit like when you have, internal hemorrhaging. And it's getting to the point where the patient is in critical condition, you have to do emergency surgery. It may be painful, it will come as a shock, But that emergency surgery is needed, and it takes courage.
This is then followed by an analysis of how the recent policies of the government will impact Nigerians.
Inflation will increase this year, but then as of next year, we'll see inflation beginning to decrease as a result of the impact of this, meaning less recourse to central bank finance, slower growth of the money supply, better growth dynamics.
Done with the speeches, the conversations continue in a plenary discussion. While members of the private sector seek a well-regulated exchange rates regime that will favor investors, government officials speak on plans to ameliorate the sufferings experienced by Nigerians as a result of the removal of fuel subsidy.
What we're looking for is price stability. What we're looking for is an ability for investors to bring in their money and have a fair view as to what it's going to take for them to make a return in dollar terms, okay, and remit their money.
We are all sure that with the right measures will be a temporary spike in inflation, and that involves using the World Bank's financial muscle to have a loan from the World Bank, which will be used as direct cash transfers for the poorest. That has long been mooted, and it's a policy decision or a policy recommendation that has pretty much been accepted.
These are definitely interesting times in the nation's economy, and the consensus here is that buffers be created to cushion the impact of the recent policies on Nigerians.
Nigeria's 2023 general election exposed enduring weaknesses and signaled the need for further legal and operational reforms to enhance transparency, inclusiveness, and accountability. This is the conclusion reached by the European Union as it presented its final report on the 2023 elections in Abuja, the nation's capital, where the Electoral Act 2022 was also put under scrutiny. Our correspondent Victor Matthias reports that the EU Election Observer Mission identified 6 areas that the country must make amends to further improve the electoral process moving forward.
It is a gathering of faces not new within Nigeria's political monitoring space, comprising civil society groups, observer groups, the electoral umpire, and diplomats from European countries. They're here to witness the European Union present its final report on the 2023 general elections.
The election exposed enduring systemic weaknesses and therefore signal a need for further legal and operational reforms to enhance transparency, inclusiveness, and accountability. The Electoral Act 2022, which had its first test in a general election in 2023, and other legal instruments evidenced gaps in terms of transparency, accountability, and inclusivity, and left room for uncertain implementation.
He listed the areas to include the ambiguities in the law, establishment of a publicly accountable process for selection of recs and national commissioners by INEC, ensuring real-time publication of and access to election results, the protection for media practitioners, the discrimination against women in elective and appointed positions, as well as impunity regarding electoral offences. He, however, outlined some positives.
The elections of March represented a significant improvement in terms of the use of the technology. There are 93.5 million people registered to vote in this election, which betokens a massive appetite for democracy.
The electoral umpire INEC, represented by its National Commissioner and Chairman of the Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, says legislation will be needed to effect the changes.
As far as the Commission is concerned, there were so many positives to this election. There were also significant challenges and problems with the election. We are going to address those challenges and those problems. And if we receive most of the reports from the domestic and international observers, we will harmonize them, take out the actionable ones that have administrative flavor. We will implement them. If there are still challenges with the Electoral Act 22 and the constitutional framework. We will also join Nigerians and go before the National Assembly to get both the constitutional and legal framework amended.
Elections may have come and gone, but recommendations like these, if implemented, are expected to ensure that the electoral process is strengthened so that there are lesser cases at the election petition tribunals. Victor Matthias, Channels Television News.
Let's talk security now, and ahead of tomorrow's Eid celebration, the Acting Inspector General of Police, Mr. Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered the immediate deployment of personnel of the force to various locations of the country to ensure adequate security. These include major highways, residential and industrial areas, vulnerable points, places of worship, resort centers, and around all critical national infrastructure. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, Mr. Olumiyiwa Adijobi, explains that all police commissioners across the states and the Federal Capital Territory, as well as the Zonal Assistant Inspectors General of Police, have also been directed to configure the security architecture in their areas of responsibility for robust and responsive policing before, during, and after the festivities. This move by the police boss comes days after the secret police, the Department of State Services, the DSS, raised an alarm over plans by criminal elements to attack places of worship during the Eid-el-Kabir celebration. In the nation's capital, Abuja, major motor parks are witnessing a low turnout of travelers ahead of the Eid-el-Kabir celebration. Some transport owners and passengers attribute this development to the recent removal of the petrol subsidy by the federal government. Our correspondent, Benny Ark, visited the popular Jabi Park and Idu train station in the FCT, which used to be a beehive of activities during this time in previous years, and now captures the situation.
This is the popular Jabi Motor Park in the nation's capital. Once a beehive of commuters, is witnessing a low turnout of passengers, a situation that is a far cry from the previous year. Some of the drivers say the low turnout may not be unconnected with the current economic situation in the country.
When they don't increase fuel, there's no gain on transport again. All our money goes on fuel.
The past one is better than this one. God, the fuel now, you buy fuel of a liter. I only buy fuel from here to Niger State, 20 liter. I could do about 3,000 plus. Now it's 10,800.
The recent removal of petrol subsidy by the federal government has caused a rise in the cost of transportation, and these travelers are bearing the brunt.
It used to be 2,000 from here to Okene, at a 0.25 from here to Okene, but right now they are asking for 7,000.
It's not really affordable because 4,500 from just Mina to Abuja is way too much. But still, we just have to pay because we don't have any choice.
Now they are taking 10,000 naira, 10,000 something also, but with load, we hear 12,000 or more erased.
There's a difference almost 3 times compared to what we were paying before.
The story is not different at the popular Idu railway station in the nation's capital. Although Channels television crew is denied access into the station, the train station, which is known to receive throngs of commuters at festive seasons like this, is witnessing low patronage. Some travelers who seem unhappy with the increment in fare advise the government to take proactive measures to address the situation.
To make something, let's copy the company the country that is working for. Let's copy from them. Ask them, how are they doing it? How did they do it? How are they getting their fuel? Whatever make their fuel work for us.
Let them refine it, they're okay for us. Let them refine our fuel here so that everything will just be in order, understand?
We are ready to reform our economy into real development we can support, but let the government try to do something which can relieve the masses.
These Salah celebrations offer many people the opportunity to reunite with their families and friends. Nigerians hope for a better country beyond the celebrations. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, we have more on the preparations for the Eid-el-Kabir celebrations. Plus, Zamfara state government vows it will not negotiate with terrorists or any criminal group attacking communities in the state. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. The president returns to the country after his trips to France and the United Kingdom, gives the assurance that the country will overcome the challenges it currently faces. EU Election Observation Mission presents final report on the 2023 general elections, says exercise exposed enduring weaknesses in the electoral process and recommends further legal and operational reforms. Ahead of tomorrow's Eid-el-Kabir celebrations, many citizens say high cost of food and transportation may dampen the festivities for them, urge government to address challenges. And Russian President Vladimir Putin addresses his country's military sellers at the Apple Ram market are lamenting low sales, blaming the low patronage on the prevailing economic situation and the sudden increase in the cost of transporting the animals from the northern part of the country. Our correspondent, Victoria Longjohn, reports.
We are in the Eid season, and there are certain elements that are integral parts of the celebration. We are now at the Apple Ram market to find out the situation of things here. It's a very busy day at this ram market in the Apple area of Abuja. Over 10,000 rams have been brought in from Kano, Jigawa and Zamfara states, as well as the Niger Republic. This time last year, a ram sold for between 70 to 100,000 naira, depending on the size. However, this year, the list cost of a ram is as high as 120,000 naira, and this has been blamed on the cost of transportation. It costs at least 6,000 naira to transport one ram to Abuja, compared to the cost of 3,000 naira last year. The price of feed for the ram has also increased. A bag of groundnut leaf now sells for 7,000 naira compared to last year when it sold at 6,500 naira. And a bag of corn husk now sells for 8,000 naira as against 5,500 naira last year. Abubakar Lawan is a ram dealer in this market, and he tells us more about the situation.
This will be the biggest one. I have 3 here, and I'm selling them at the rate of 750. That's the biggest one. Then this one, 650. Then the other one, 550. The other ones, this one I can sell it for 400. You know, the cost of transportation. We are bringing it from Zamfara. This one I even bought it from Niger Republic. So, you know, this for a subsidy of 18. The transport before 10,000 naira, they will charge you per cow. But now what they are charging, this one I pay almost 20,000 naira for the transport and myself.
Other ram dealers blame the low patronage and increase in price on the cost of transportation and the country's economic situation.
120, 110 last year. So this year, you don't add the money because everything don't charge. Every day for now, you don't add the money. Last year, we carry ram 3,000. From my Adwa Megatari Gujungu. Now, we carry 7, 5, 10,000.
It's not a pleasant experience for the buyers. The prices have dug a big hole in their pockets.
People find it very difficult for purchasing the ram.
The same place I bought lamb, 65,000 naira. It's terrible. In fact, it's annoying that a country where we have all these stocks, we are finding it difficult to cope, to the extent that you can't buy goods, you can't buy ram for anything. Now, the ram we are seeing here, we have that of 120. That's the last I can see here. 450. 450 is enough to buy at least Sienna salad, as we used to know before. Now, I don't know where common man will start from.
The story is the same when we visited the food items market. There's no sign of celebration. The expression of this man is no different for this lady. other Nigerians are still adjusting to the hard times occasioned by the recent government policies.
Price of almost everything has changed, and it's really affecting everybody, the rich, the not so rich, the poor. And you can see the mood of the market. The market is, you can't even tell Salah is tomorrow, unlike before. That means the buying power of people has really reduced. So I think really the government should try speedily, the speed with which they remove the subsidy. They should use the same speed to meet us halfway.
There's no doubt that many Nigerians are bearing the brunt of the aftermath of the fuel subsidy removal, even as they hope that the decisions of the government will put Africa's largest economy back on track. Victoria Longchon, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, in Lagos, the story seems more different for residents as their travel plans is looking bleak, especially for Muslim faithful who would want to travel to observe the festivity with their loved ones. Besides the cost of food, the hike in transport fares is a major concern for them in Lagos.
An unusual sight of the less busy Biode Motor Park located along roads connecting the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway to other parts of Lagos metropolis. Most of the buses here are destined for states in the southwest, but the number of travelers is below expectation on a day preceding a major Muslim festival. The cost of transportation has almost doubled.
I think generally people are having to cancel some of their plans due to the increase in transportation fare because, generally during Salah, it is an expected, people always expect that there will be increase on transportation fare, but then due to the fact that there was increase in PMS price some weeks ago, now it has really gone up beyond what people are expecting. Now, to travel from Lagos to Ogumosho Ilorin is 12,000 naira.
The rate of the fuel is 500 naira per liter, and quick save. The driver will buy the fuel at, let's say, 20,000 naira to fill the tank, and they cannot be able to take it as in the way they are doing before, and they have to raise their own money. As of now, we're taking Ibadan 4-1, and then the car exists one for them to couple their money back to gain their money.
Patronage at the Owena Park is also discouraging, as at midday, most vehicles are still empty, waiting for passengers. Ticketers and loaders sit idly. The situation is not different at the Jibowu bus terminal. Despite the risk, some travelers resort to joining buses along the expressway, hoping to pay less of what is obtainable in recognized parks. Even at that, the price is considered high.
It's only 3,000. It's not too much because of the price. Because there is no money around this country again. It's 3,000.
At the Murtala Muhammed International Airport, air traffic seems to be moderate. Being the fastest and one of the safest means of transportation, air travel remains the option for many despite the cost.
The airfare actually is quite expensive. It's not everybody that can afford to travel by air. If the federal government can come in so that they can bring down the air ticket to be low for the masses, I think it could have been better.
So I think the cost has been consistent with what we've seen over the last 3-4 months. It's been in that range of, anywhere from 40 to 60,000. So the prices, fortunately, haven't spiked up as they usually we expect during the holidays.
Many will be missing out on the fun of traveling during holidays and reuniting with their families because of the current economic realities. Hence, a low-key Eid-el-Kabir celebration is expected.
Still ahead on the news at 10, federal government announces plan to ensure quick access to single-digit loans for micro, small and medium enterprises as the country marks the 2023 World MSME Day. That's on Business News. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the news at 10. Let's now head to the nation's capital, and Gloria Umezoke is indeed standing by at our Abuja studios. Hello, Gloria.
Thank you, Ayo. Here in Abuja, and staying with preparations for Eid-el-Kabir, some residents of Kano State have resigned themselves to fate owing to economic hardship. They say rising prices of goods and services are among the factors contributing to this hardship, making it difficult for some to make adequate preparations for the festivity. Our correspondent, Sadiq Ilyasu, reports.
Eid-el-Adha, also known as the Feast of Sacrifice, is the second and largest of the two main holidays celebrated in Islam. In Kano, a state in northwest Nigeria with a Muslim majority population, a mixed multitude flocked to the market in search of items to feast on during the celebration. It's a day to eat celebrations, and here in Kano State, northwest Nigeria, livestock markets have suddenly sprung up in some of the streets in the state for easy access to buyers. Many customers approach the market carefully, considering what they will have to give up to get what they desire.
You know, it's not everyone that is experiencing this hardship. No matter the situation, there are always people that are capable. So we thank God.
And the price is very high. So I keep searching, and beside here I will also go to another place to see what I can afford to buy.
While some can afford to indulge in a festive celebration, Ramadan Umar is not in a celebratory mood. He lost his livelihood due in the recent demolition exercise. In tears, he wonders what there is to celebrate.
We lost our shop after the demolition exercise. We are now struggling with what to feed our family. I can't afford any ram, and I even heard that they are expensive.
Besides Ramadan, Mutakashe, who sits hopelessly unable to afford a ram for the Eid celebration, but all he wants is food on the table for the family.
We are thinking of what to eat for now. I have children and a wife. They are aware that I can't afford a ram.
There is a chance their families may still get some ram meat for the celebration. That is, if other faithful remember what the Prophet said about sharing at a time like this.
Commanded by the Prophet ﷺ that whenever a Muslim slaughters an animal during this festival or during this ritual, he is supposed to divide it into three. He keeps 1/3 for himself and his family, and the other 2 he gives it out as charity to Muslims who are not able to slaughter.
While the rising prices born of the new government policies and recent demolitions have cast a shadow over the festivities in Kano, the tradition of allocating a portion of sacrificial animals for charity should remind everyone of the importance of sharing and caring for those in need. Sadiq Ilyasu, Channels Television News.
While away from the Eid preparations, the Zamfara state government says it has no plan to dialogue or negotiate with terrorists or any criminal group in the state, but will wage war against them until they are eliminated in the state. But this is according to the Secretary to the State Government, Mr. Abubakar Nakwada, who was addressing journalists over the activities of the present and immediate past administration of Governor Bello Matawale. The former governor had instituted a peace dialogue with the bandits, which was later stopped in September 2021, owing to the persistent bandit attacks on rural communities in the state.
For the avoidance of doubt, the state government under the able leadership of Dr. Dauda Lawal Dari has no plan whatsoever to reconcile and or have any discussion with any bandit, any criminal, any pocket thief. Ours is to pursue them wherever they are and arrest them or do whatever that is legally enforceable. Yes, no plan whatsoever to reconcile with any criminal in the state. It is truly alarming that an astounding amount of well over 50 billion naira was allocated to projects within the government house alone that have little or no direct impact on the lives of the Zamfara ordinary citizen. To make matters worse, many of these projects remain either incomplete or even non-existent. They just exist on paper. Additionally, an astonishing sum of 17.5 billion naira was expended on the construction of the Gusau airport. Yet, there is no visible evidence of substantial progress or development.
To politics, a coalition of youths and women political groups from the All Progressives Congress in Kogi State is asking party members and supporters to collect their permanent voters' cards, PVC, in order to deliver votes for the governorship candidate of the party, Mr. Usman Ododo. The leader of the coalition group, Mr. Yakubu Adebenegbe, stated this in Lokoja, the state capital, during a solidarity walk and the house-to-house campaign for the candidate's party. It appears the Taraba state government has begun to cut its coat according to its cloth. Governor Agbo Kafas is moving to cut down the number of ministries in the state from 45 to 20. According to the governor, this was necessitated by the need to streamline the various elements of the civil service for optimal service delivery, specialization, and the need to weed out ghost workers. Governor Kafas was speaking during a closed-door meeting with permanent secretaries of various ministries in the state's civil service.
To be specific in our dealings, that we need for us to merge some of the ministries for proper result. So we'll have more directorates, departments. We have departmental heads. It will help you to train and retrain people to be able to know and carry out their job effectively. So you have plenty of commissioners, some of them could be confused along the line, they won't understand what you're talking about. But when you have a permanent secretary in the ministry with 4, 3, 6 directorates, and there's division of labor and specialization, you see, it's become more effective.
And His Excellency has further directed that this week, all the local government staff, teachers and local government that were not enrolled into the pension scheme of the state, the money will be released, about 72 million naira will be released this week for all of them to be enrolled into the pension scheme. So these are the two very big news that our information that are coming out from the meeting. And then the big one is Excellency, after visiting the School of Midwifery and Nursing, has ordered that effective immediately, the school fees payable by the student of nursing and midwifery, Jalingo, be reduced by 50%.
Well, to company news, G-Text Homes has done the official groundbreaking for the Jasper Hill View Estate as part of efforts to provide luxury and environmental-friendly accommodation in the Federal Capital Territory. Speaking at the ceremony in Abuja, the chairman of the G-Text Homes, Dr. Stephen Akintayo, says with the help of technology and new innovations, G-Text Homes is out to provide an eco-friendly environment free from contaminated air.
Located along the Umar Musa Yaradua Expressway and a few kilometers from Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport Road is a luxury green and smart serviced Jasper Hill View Estate powered by G-Text Homes. A serene environment surrounded by beautiful hills. Chairman of G-Text Homes highlights the advantages of Jasper Hill View Estate.
The estate will have more than just houses. It will have a clinic, it will have a gym, it will have a fitness center, it will have a mini park for kids to be able to play, and several, we are even considering having a cable car from the mountain down.
The G-Text management team believes persons wishing to own a property in Jasper Hill View Estate are in for a good investment.
This estate is going to have 3 bedrooms,
with PQ, 4-bedroom with PQ. We're going to have a 4-bedroom with a penthouse. And we're also going to have a 5-bedroom semi-detached duplex.
We started with 4 million naira, and we had then 10 people that understood the reason of investment. The return of investment for people that bought early went on a high.
The chairman of the occasion applauds G-Text Homes and then proceeds to officially declare the estate open for investors.
Today is special because today G-Text is creating records, bringing an innovation into housing in Nigeria.
With a vision to provide humanity with a stress-free and luxurious lifestyle without the worry of looking for the right company, the chairman showcases the layout of the estate.
We're generating our own electricity for everyone. We're converting our waste to biogas, so you cook with it. So these are a lot of innovation that we're bringing. But beyond that is also that we're creating a properly well-habitable neighborhood.
The vision of G-Text Homes is to build 25,000 housing units by the year 2035, using advanced cutting-edge technology at its disposal. G-Text Homes currently provides unique housing and investment opportunities and sets new pathways for others to follow in Nigeria and across the globe.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. We go over now to Anne Nwaodo in Lagos for business news.
Thank you, Gloria. Hello and welcome to Business News. The federal government says it plans to urgently ensure quick access to single-digit loans for Nigerian small businesses within the shortest time possible. The Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, who made this known in a statement to mark the 2023 World Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Day, explains that the move is made in recognition of the role of MSMEs in growing Nigeria's economy. According to him, the government remains committed to providing support, fostering an enabling environment, and improving access to finance, especially for businesses that face numerous challenges due to the recent removal of fuel subsidy. And in yet another move, the Central Bank of Nigeria has set a daily cumulative limit for contactless payment as it issues guidelines to banks and other financial institutions. In a statement issued today, the CBN set 15,000 naira as a transaction limit for contactless payment through accounts and wallets with a daily cumulative of 50,000 naira. While transactions exceeding this latest limit will be subject to regulatory approval, contactless payment system involves the consummation of financial transactions without physical contact between the payer and the device. And in the United Kingdom, it has signed a memorandum of understanding with the European Union to reopen communications about the financial service industry. The UK's Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, signed the long-delayed post-Brexit Cooperation Pact in Brussels on Tuesday with his EU counterpart. Mr. Hunt believes the agreement can help support London and the UK in being a global hub for financial services, a sector that makes up more than a tenth of the British economy. He also adds that the UK and the EU financial markets are deeply interconnected and building a constructive voluntary relationship is mutually beneficial. Meanwhile, the European Union officials have confirmed the deal and it will address concerns over Northern Ireland, but it's not likely to restore United Kingdom's access to the European Union. And back here in Nigeria, let's head to the equities market. It increased today to 60,000 level to end the penultimate trading session for the holiday shortened week. Let's hear the details from Laddie Williams.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report at the trading day before the Eid holidays, and we see the bulls dominate again. And it's a good one here. New level, 60,109 points, 1.30%. Last time we hit the 60K level at intraday last week, it didn't stay there, fell back to the 59K level, but now we're resting on the 60,000 level before the holidays, so we're going to be solidly in there till Friday to see what happens next. Market cap, 32.7 trillion. Let's look at the activity chart. We see it's big volume, 763 million units of stocks valued at 12.5 billion. And now, new level for deals, 9,463 deals. Incredible performance today. Let's look at the sectoral performance now. Let's see, oil and gas, 3.21%. Banking, big move, 3.50%. We see the banking counter shining again with reports that the banking counter had the best quarter since 2017. And we see today the Fugas, all of them gaining. So the analysts say the investors are impressed with the Central Bank of Nigeria's foreign exchange liberalization. And we see the oil and gas also, not left out there, 3.21%, big move up. Healthy market breadth today, 51 gainers against 13 decliners. And it looks like June is turning out to be the best month for the stock market so far within the first half of this year. Well, let's take a look at what happens for the second half of 2023. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Laddie Williams.
That's business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawododo. It's back to Ayo for the rest of the news at 10.
Many thanks, Anne. The leader of the failed Wagner rebellion is in Belarus, and that's according to that country's leader, Alexander Lukashenko. Yevgeny Prigozhin agreed to leave Russia for its neighbor after calling off his troops, and this morning a plane linked to him landed in the capital, Minsk. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin has addressed the country's military, hailing them for stopping a civil war following the aborted Wagner rebellion on Saturday. We'll hear Simon Pusey with more on this and other international stories in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Russian President Vladimir Putin has addressed the military, telling them they stopped a civil war following the aborted Wagner rebellion. In a 5-minute address to the nation, Russia's president tried to reassert his authority after the astonishing events of the weekend when armed mercenaries marched on Moscow. Russian authorities say the Wagner mercenary group will be disarmed, but will escape prosecution over its short-lived rebellion on Saturday. Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin said it was in response to government plans to take direct control of the mercenary group, and he'd now agreed to leave for Belarus. Earlier, a Russian-registered jet, which is linked to Yevgeny Prigozhin, flew to Belarus from Russia. It's not yet known if he was on board. Hundreds of anti-government protesters have blocked a street and scuffled with police in a demonstration that escalated into violence outside the home of Israeli Justice Minister Yariv Levin. Protesters banged drums, set a tyre ablaze and hung large signs accusing Prime Minister Levin of snatching the country, referring to what they say is the influence the Justice Minister has over Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the judicial overhaul process. Israel's police said that 6 people were detained in the course of the protest. The UN Refugee Agency has warned that an earlier projection that the Sudan conflict would prompt 1 million people to flee across its borders is likely to be surpassed. So far, the conflict between warring military factions that began in mid-April has caused almost 600,000 people to cross into neighbouring countries. The latest wave of violence in Darfur has been driven by militias from Arab nomadic tribes, along with members of the Rapid Support Forces. Zimbabwe's economic woes are back, with triple-digit inflation returning after annual inflation doubled to almost 176% in June. Consumer groups say the average family needs about $1 million Zimbabwe dollars, or $150 for food alone every month, as prices rise almost daily. The Zimbabwean government blames currency speculators for the crash of the Zimbabwe dollar, which has lost more than 90% of its value since January. Good morning. Britain's former Health Minister Matt Hancock has apologised for each COVID-19 death during the pandemic as he gave evidence to a UK inquiry. Protesters, some who'd lost relatives, comforted each other outside as the former Health Secretary answered questions. Mr. Hancock had been at the centre of the government's fight against the pandemic, routinely appearing on television and radio to tell people to follow the strict rules to contain the virus.
I am profoundly sorry for the impact that had. I'm profoundly sorry for each death that has occurred. And I also understand why, for some, it will be hard to take that apology from me. I understand that. I get it. But it is honest and heartfelt.
2 people have died and over 155,000 have been affected in India's Assam, according to authorities, as floods ravaged the northeastern state and forced people into temporary relief shelters. Some residents in the Bajali district were seen resting under shelters, while others stood in their partially submerged and damaged houses. The Brahmaputra River, one of the world's largest rivers, and its distributaries have burst their banks in Assam, inundating several villages. And Britain's Prince William has visited a community centre in East Belfast in Northern Ireland as part of his campaign to tackle homelessness in the UK. The Prince of Wales was greeted by Belfast's Lord Lieutenant Dame Fianola Mary J. O'Boyle before speaking to representatives inside the centre on the second day of a 2-day tour that began on Monday. The senior royal and his royal foundation have launched Homewards, a 5-year locally led pilot programme in 6 regions that aims to address the root causes of homelessness, including by helping people into employment and training schemes and dealing with the prevention of mental health issues.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon, and now welcome to Sports News. Super Eagles midfielder Alex Iwobi has described the 2022 and 2023 Premier League season at Everton as an emotional rollercoaster ride he wouldn't want to go through again after the club barely escaped relegation on the last day of the season. Iwobi, who was named Player of the Season at Everton for his contribution to the club last season, told Channels Television his inspiration comes from his uncle, JJ Okocha.
To overcome the obstacle of not going down, like we've done very well, but yeah, it's not something I enjoyed, but I'm happy that with the teammates that I played with, the fighting spirit and the chemistry, we're able to overcome that. So I've never seen it as pressure, having him as my uncle. It's an honor to have someone as a big stature in Nigeria to be my uncle. I've never felt the pressure. Every time he told me, like he messages me or he calls me, he always says like, just go and express yourself the same way he did. He always played football with a smile on his face, so he told me to do the same thing. So I never see any pressure. When I'm on the pitch, I just want to go and enjoy and play with my friends, play with my teammates, and enjoy football really.
Premier League champions Manchester City have completed the signing of Croatia midfielder Mateo Kovacic from Chelsea following the loss of captain Ike Gundogan. The treble winners confirmed the 29-year-old had signed a 4-year contract after the clubs reportedly agreed an initial fee of £25 million with a potential $5 million in add-ons. Kovacic joins Pep Guardiola's side after 5 years at Chelsea, where he won the Champions League and Europa League and made 221 appearances. And that's it. That's it in Sports News. Thank you for joining us, and it's back to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Chris. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today returned to the country after his trips to France and the United Kingdom. In his Eid-el-Kabir message to Nigerians, the president gave the assurance that the country would overcome the challenges it currently faces. The EU Election Observation Mission has presented its final report on the 2023 general elections, and the group said the exercise exposed enduring weaknesses in the electoral process and recommended further legal and operational reforms going forward. And the leader of the Wagner rebellion has arrived in Belarus after agreeing to Alexander Lukashenko, the country's president, to leave Russia for its neighbor after calling off his troops, and he landed in a plane linked to him in the capital, Minsk. And the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, has hailed his country's military, hailing them for stopping what he called a civil war following the aborted Wagner group rebellion as well. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Many thanks for watching. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. Do have a good night.